to call to order today, Monday, April 3rd, 2023, public hearing for the City of Tampa's Architectural Review Commission. Welcome. I'm Susan Klaus-Smith. I'm chair of the commission. I'm also an architect. If you're here to present a project, you will have limited time to make your presentation, so we suggest being thorough but concise. When coming to the microphone, you will need to identify yourself and your relationship to the project. The commissioners will not ask any questions during your presentation, and your project should be presented in the following order: the site plan, elevations, architectural details, and wall sections. The staff will then present a staff report, and we will then ask for public comment. Following your presentation, the commissioners will be asking questions in the same order as your presentation. When coming to the microphone, please state and spell your name clearly if you are here to speak for or against a project. Your time will be limited to 3 minutes, so take some time now to summarize your comments because 3 minutes goes by very quickly. And following the public comment, the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The public hearing will then be closed, and the only comments which will be allowed after the public hearing is closed will be in response to any questions from the commissioners. The commissioners will then discuss the case and will make their decision based on the city ordinance, Chapter 27 of the City Zoning Code, the design guidelines, the Secretary of Interior standards, Historic Preservation Development Review or HPDRC comments, and the testimony given here at the public hearing tonight. Please remember that the ARC can only act on items that are within our specific jurisdictional responsibility. Owners and or agents are independently responsible to obtain any appropriate permits and or approvals. Now, if you haven't already done so, please do silence your cell phones, and I'll ask my fellow commissioners to introduce themselves, starting on my left.
I'm John Prokop. I practice architecture.
Dan Myers, I'm an architect.
Stephen Sutton, I am a registered architect. I also hold the architectural historian chair for this commission.
Robert Miles, is this on? Yeah. Robert Miles, construction manager with emphasis on historical preservation.
And with us tonight, we have Dennis Fernandez, Elaine Lunn, Alexis Guzman, and our city attorney, Dana Crosby Collier. And we'll move on to the reading of the minutes from the March 6th hearing. If I could have a motion to enter those into the record, as long as there are no comments.
No comments? I move that the meeting minutes for the Architectural Review Commission public hearing for Monday, March 6th, 2023 be approved and accepted as presented.
I second the motion.
All in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
So moved. We'll move on to announcements.
Good evening, Commissioners. Dennis Fernandez, Architectural Review and Historic Preservation Manager for the City of Tampa. Welcome to this evening's public hearing, and welcome to the public that are in attendance as well. I do have just a couple brief announcements. First of all, I'd like to welcome Commissioner Miles to the Commission, and thank you for volunteering your time for historic preservation in the City of Tampa. As you know, this is quite a commitment for the Commissioners, and we appreciate your dedication to this cause. Secondly, I did want to enter the ARC staff approvals from March of 2023 into the record. I will provide those to the clerk. And lastly, I did want to remind the Commissioners that we will be having the second part of the April cycle public hearings on Wednesday, April 5th at 5:30 p.m. So we're seeing a portion of the cases on this evening's agenda. And with that, I'll ask our legal counsel to go ahead and request the conflict of interest and ex parte communication disclosure.
Good evening. Dana Crosby Collier from the City Attorney's Office. Members, I'd like to ask if any member of the Commission has a conflict of interest with any item on the agenda this evening.
I have none.
I have none.
None.
Okay, thank you. Has any member engaged in an ex parte communication regarding any matter on an agenda?
Have not.
None.
We have not.
Thank you so much.
And with that, we'll move on to continuations. We do have one continuation that was intended just to balance out the agendas for this cycle, so they are going to be continuing from tonight's public hearing until the Wednesday public hearing. So if I can receive a motion for ARC 23-122, located at 1802 West Chaton Avenue, that's requesting to be continued to the April 5th, 2023 public hearing at 5:30 p.m.
I move to grant a continuation in the case of ARC 23-122 for the property located at 1802 West Chaton Avenue, as requested by the agent, to be continued to the Architectural Review Commission public hearing of April 5th, 2023.
At 5:30.
I'll
At
second.
5:30. I had to think about that.
It's okay.
I second the motion.
All in favor, please state aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to our swearing, anyone in the audience who is going to be presenting this evening or giving testimony, please stand and raise your right hand.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are providing today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. With that, we are ready for our first case, and Ms. Lund will provide you with an overview of that request.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Elaine Lund with Historic Preservation Staff. The first item on the agenda tonight is located at 410 East Forest Avenue. This is case number ARC 23-69, located in the Tampa Heights Historic District. The request is for new construction for an addition to the primary structure, and this is in a building that, while it is an older structure built circa 1905, it is a non-contributing structure due to the alterations that have occurred to it over the years. So with that, I'll take you through the photo presentation. The first image you'll see here is the map of the Tampa Heights Historic District. The property is located near the center of the historic district, north of Columbus Drive. It's on Forest Avenue in between Central and Jefferson Streets on the north side of Forest. Sorry, this is the 1920 Sanborn map. He's showing you where the footprint of the building was at that time. You can see that it's situated toward the west side of the property. And this is the present-day aerial map. A little difficult to see the house in question there now because of the tree. But again, it's on the north side of Forest Avenue, between Central Avenue and Jefferson Street. This is facing the front of the property in question. We're looking at its south side. This is taking a look from the side. You can see the west side of the structure here. And a view looking at the front and the east sides of the building. And this is the rear of the structure. Moving back to Forest, this building is on the corner of Forest and Jefferson Streets, just to the west of the subject property. And this is the building to the east. And looking across the street on the south side of Forest, this is the existing structure directly across the street. This view is looking east along Forest towards Central Avenue. And then this view is looking west towards Jefferson Street. So the subject property in this photo would be to your right. And that concludes the photo presentation. So at this time, we'll have the applicant come forward and present the request.
Hello, how are you guys doing today? Appreciate your time. Thank you so much. What we're trying to do is, in addition to our existing home, we kind of have several problems inside of the home, but one of the main problems stems around the idea that the home was built so old, or so long ago rather, and a lot of the things inside, like for instance, our washer dryer is not physically inside the home. We have to go like through an outside area to cut through to do wash, dry, laundry, things of that nature. It's exposed to nature, elements of things of that nature, so we're having like some rotting in the back of the floors and things of that nature. Also with the kitchen, we've had a problem with it dipping in, sinking in. So not only would the addition solve those problems, but in addition, it would actually give us a little more space to, move around, a little more comfortable living. We'd be able to entertain, and more importantly, we'd be able to stay in our current home rather than having to move or make some huge adjustments to the outside or second levels and things of that nature. So we would like to stay where we are. We like living in the historic district where we are. We don't plan on doing anything to the outside facade of the home. Everything as far as the siding, the shingles, everything is going to be matched as closely as we can. And I have a contractor here that can speak to more of that nature as far as that material. But I'll start with the actual addition for the site plan, which is hopefully it's not upside down. Is that upside down now? There we go, right set up. So I tried to zoom in a little bit to survey. Perfect. This is the residence now. The addition is in the red area as far as what we would like to do. So it would not change anything towards the front of the home, with just the addition in the back. Property line here, of course, and then we're 8 feet off the property line. We had, to do that to comply with, the setbacks. So, yeah. So that is what the addition is as far as that. Here's the elevation, which I have it in landscape mode, so I'm hoping it can come in okay. But this is the elevation on the residence. This would be the back of the home. That's the view that you're looking at now. And if I'm speeding through these too fast, let me know. And then here's going to be the wall section for the residence. That we're doing. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, so can you speak more to the materials as far as the shingles all the way down to the foundation?
Okay, we're going to match existing finishes on the whole homes. We're going to match the existing shingle roof. We're going to match the existing siding, which is a hardy board, textured fiber cement board with a 7-inch lap. And of course, Mr. and Mrs. Williams don't want their home to appear as if it were added to, so we're going to take great care to make their home look as if it were all original. When we do apply the new hardy siding, we're going to have nice, straight, lined up siding lines so that things turn out quite well. And the only change might be the types of windows. We might have they might want a vinyl frame window instead of the aluminum frame that are in the front and the front half of the home because it gives them greater energy efficiency. That would all appear toward the rear of the home.
And then speaking towards that side, I know they had a back view of the home, but here's a little close-up view of the siding that we are going to match for the home, to try to keep it running consistent and matching up. And here's a little bit of view of kind of like a little bit of soffit view, but more or less a little bit of the overhang along the home. Also trying to get that matched as well the whole way through. And I believe I have pictures of the shingles that we're matching. Give me 2 seconds. And there are those photos, just a little rooftop view of the shingles that we're also going to match. So honestly, what we would like to do is just keep everything completely consistent. You know, the idea of living in the neighborhood that we're in, we definitely appreciate living there. We like there's some order as far as keeping it historically accurate to what it was. So we definitely want to comply with all of that and basically just extend the house out back to make us a better living situation, a little more comfortable, and also just, you know, a little safer in some respects as well. So I think that's all I have in my stack of papers for, oh, I do have, this. I think I uploaded all these images as well, so it may have been seen, but this is actually the inside of the home, what it would be. So working front to back. So this dashed line is where the addition of the house would start. So from here back would be all the additions that we would do to the home. And I believe that's all I have.
Before you leave the dais, can both of you enter your names into the record?
Oh, I'm so sorry. My name is Courtney Williams, and I am the owner, or one of the owners. Me and my wife are the owner of 410 East Forest Avenue in Tampa, Florida.
Okay, thank you. And then the other gentleman that spoke?
I'm Richard Baber, general contractor for the project.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm sorry about that.
So we'll go ahead and we will move on to, the public comment. So if there's anyone here for or against the project who would like to come forward and speak, you may do so at this time. Seeing no one, we will then ask questions. So I will start on my left this evening.
Hi, thanks for the presentation.
Oh, no, thank you for the time.
Quick one, what year was the house originally built, do you know?
I believe that's weird because when we bought the home, we thought it was like 1910, but then we saw something that said 1905. So we're not exactly pinned down on the exact date. We know changes were made to the house. I think
Yeah.
then that's one of the things that may be so confusing.
Yeah,
but
that-
we believe it's 1905. That's
Yeah,
what we
that
believe.
that roof shape is just not from that time period of the existing house. That whole double
Yeah.
shed thing. You said you wanted to match the lap of the siding, and the wall section showed, I believe, an 11-inch lap, and then verbally was stated a 7-inch
So,
lap.
I'm sorry, I put a tape on it some time ago, and what I put on.
Can you please use
This-
the microphone? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I put a tape on this, some time ago, so the diagram must be correct, I was going by memory, but they do make a wider,
Okay.
lap siding, and which is available, so we can get that, and we can match it.
Okay, and all the trim and the corner boards and all that will be hardy also? Or is it wood?
Well, probably going to be hardy as long as we can get it the same size.
Yeah,
If he
the
has a-
five, like a 5/4 or something thicker?
Yes.
Okay. And does this have a roof overhang dimension?
I don't know if it's consistent on the house, we'll have to match what it is, on the east side, because we have to continue the fascia board there and plane the roof on the east side.
Right.
And then as we build toward the west side, we're gonna follow the rape of the roof until it meets the peak, and then we're going to have a gable slip down the opposite side.
Okay, but you don't know what the overhang size will be?
I
the
believe
rafters.
it's either 12 or 16. I didn't put a tape on that one. I didn't know
Okay.
the question was coming. But we're going to match the fascia board across the east side and
Okay.
maintain a similar type of ring.
And what were you anticipating using as the finish of the foundation wall?
For the foundation wall, well, that'll have to be block. It'll have to be block, and we're gonna do a.
But how are you gonna finish it? You're gonna paint it? You're going to put a skim coat on it?
Well, I think the existing is struck block. No, it's not. It's,
Our existing is not painted at all.
yeah.
The
It's
lattice.
just exposed,
Yeah, it's
exposed
just
block?
Yeah, just
Do
exposed
you have a
block.
photo of that?
Yeah, I don't know if this was built, ages ago, and I think it's built on block piers.
Yeah.
Cord. So, we're gonna have to do a solid foundation wall. And, well, of course, there are gonna be vents because it's a raised wood, it'll be a raised wood floor.
Right.
Okay, so they'll be prescribed whatever size.
Okay.
But we'll have to pour those and have a tie beam and so forth tied down to the footings.
Okay.
The pictures I have are not gonna be clear enough to see that because of the lattice over the top.
Oh, there's, okay.
But it's, I mean, yeah, you can't really see anything in there, honestly.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The actual, piers. is what
Yeah,
you're
but
looking
there's
for.
lattice covering it now?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
like that when we came
right.
into the house.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
But, let's see.
I have no questions at this time.
Mr. Sutton?
Please, sir, if you can, one of the items in your presentation in terms of materiality could be and should be addressed at this time, and that's the nature of your doors and windows that you're proposing to put into this addition. Do you have with you cut sheets for the manufacturers of these doors and windows that you're intending to use, or can you describe these to us in some fashion?
I could get them to you. I don't have the cut sheets, and we're still talking about exactly what we'll use, but we believe it's going to be a vinyl product, probably by either Simonton for the windows and custom window manufacturers for sliding glass doors. We typically use those products unless something else is desired.
On the rear of your proposed addition, you are planning on a covered porch, correct? Do you have details at all for those columns or stoop steps from that porch?
We don't at this point in time. That is pending engineering. So if depending on how our engineer spaces the uprights for upload, we'll place those probably 6 by 6, as I would imagine in the past. That's what he has used, and then we can wrap those with the hardy siding.
Your proposed deck is at this time of what material?
What material would you your deck in the back?
Yeah, we were thinking about continuing the deck out, so it would just be the raised wood as it is now. That way we could walk out from the house and just walk straight out to the deck. But we were thinking maybe about just doing ground level cement, basic deck. So we were kind of in between, but more siding towards, going straight out and just being still on that raised up. That way we're not really changing, the aesthetic of the house too much.
And in the same vein, what were you planning on the ceiling at this time?
The ceiling?
Yeah, the ceiling of your
We're gonna
porch.
finish the ceiling on your, we could do, and we had to talk about this, it might be a tongue and groove pine ceiling, which he could stain or paint. If he wants to paint it, I'm probably gonna suggest that he go with a similar type of product in vinyl, so it's maintenance free, and they can power wash it.
Oh.
And the ceiling of the
Yeah.
porch.
I was probably just
of the
about
porch.
inside the house. I'm sorry.
That is all the question I have for this moment.
You have any questions, Commissioner?
I got no questions
None
at
at
this
this
time.
time? I noted that you had the AC unit off, if you go back to your site plan, please. So you're relocating your AC unit to the side yard. Can you just indicate on this plan here where your fence line is?
The fence line along the west side is right here.
Okay, and then where does it come back to the house?
The back of the house?
No,
Fence line.
to the house in the front. Does it return? Where does it return to the home?
There's a gate right here. Is that what you're speaking of? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand. So typically,
gate.
when we have equipment that's in side yards,
Mm-hmm.
we want to make sure that they're not readily seen from
Oh,
street
okay.
side. So they're either
Yes, ma'am.
screened with a fence or landscaping.
Yes, ma'am. The fence is right here.
Okay, and there's no intention of removing that or changing that, correct?
Not unless we get something in plan review, but, you know, that would yet to be seen. But we could relocate that fence forward, or, I'm sorry, the gate forward.
Oh, no, we're not here to, just want to make sure that that's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Other than that, can you put your elevations back up, please? I'm trying to understand exactly what we were talking about in terms of the roof line. So at the rear. Are there any other windows going in on, oh, you do have them on that other elevation. So on these elevations, you didn't draw the existing windows or doors, so it's kind of hard to
Well-
understand the relationships.
I apologize. I thought the request would be for what's being added. We have some photos of the existing house, but what we were adding, the windows on the east elevation and, not on the west elevation, but, because most of that's the existing house, and then there's a bathroom there. And then in the back, we have the doors.
So it's difficult, and the reason why when we see elevations, we want to see the existing condition and we want to see the new, so we can relate it, because we can't see it readily in photos, like the photos that we have, our little snapshots, they're at different views and they don't give us a full perspective of how it actually comes together. And another thing, it helps us see scale, proportion, that sort of thing, to understand it. Are the windows that are on the east elevation, are they drawn to scale, meaning that they have a dimension that you actually are going to install?
To the best of my knowledge, they should be, you know, unless Mr. and Mrs. Williams would want to change them. I believe that the windows that are shown are probably not as, I don't think they're as tall as the existing windows. Can we see, do you have a photo of the
See,
east
these are
side?
all
Can we put
going
them,
away.
can we put
The
the
east side-
photo next to the elevation? It'll just help a little bit if you can on the.
One more time, please. I'm sorry.
If you have an image of that elevation, just put it next to the elevation sheet.
Of the east side?
I don't.
Yeah.
Anything
We don't
on
have
the
a. We don't have a picture of the
Of that
east side.
side.
Only thing I have is over there because we don't have any window. Actually, I'm sorry. Erase that. We have a very small bathroom window, the ones you can't look through. But that's the only window we have on the east side at all.
And that would be, that window would be eliminated, because of the, it would appear in an area where you see the three windows that are molded together on the east elevation now. Then actually this, you know what, if that's the case, I had forgotten, if that's the case, then this is actually an accurate elevation. Because if you only have the one bedroom window on the east side now, that one goes away because we remodel that into the living room, and therefore, this east elevation would be accurate. There are no windows except for the three that are added and the door on the side.
Can you put your floor plan back up, please? Thank you.
Floor plan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
I'm sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry. My apologies.
And can we zoom out just a tad, please?
Let me see. Let me try. This is my first time.
You're doing a great
All
job,
right. Thank you.
honestly. Actually, I'd like to see the whole plan, so if we can we zoom out any further? Maybe rotate the plans,
well,
rotate the plan so it's 90
rotate 'em?
degrees. Yep. Perfect, thank you.
Well, it's not even the whole plan.
That isn't the whole plan.
The existing home, these two bedrooms go a little further and there are windows out front.
Right,
And it's
okay.
not much further. We cut it off because we didn't know you'd want to see that, but that it's not a part of any modifications, and it only goes a little further, this bedroom and this bedroom at the front with two windows out the front. And then, the bathroom window, there's a master bathroom here and a bathroom in this area at the present time, all which get eliminated in Okay.
So in this plan, it looks like you also have a man door that you're putting in addition to the 3 windows that you
Yeah.
indicated? Is that still the case?
Yeah, that is the case. That shows on the elevation. These are the 3 windows that are molded together and the door that is next to it.
I don't believe that door is indicated, and if that door is there, there should be a stoop of some sort and stairs.
Well, we'll probably have to put a landing.
Yep,
And the house is, if I recall, probably 16 inches, I think, above grade. So we'll actually need a landing. And then probably stairs going toward this direction because that's where the parking area is.
okay.
And
Can we look at the elevation again, because I don't think it's on the elevation, and even so, what type of door would that
It'll be the
be?
door
Oh,
that's
it's really hard to
faded.
see. That's why we can't see it, yeah, it's very, very light. What type of door would that be? You had mentioned that you would go custom for the sliders, but what about the main door?
The door light would probably be a masonite slab. Now, they may have yet to decide if they want to put some kind of glazing there, and it may be a fixed glazing. It might be full glass, it might be half glass or 3/4, or they might just want to go with a panel, a panel style.
Yeah, okay. All right, I think I've grilled you enough. I have no other questions at this time. Any other questions before we move on? No? All right, so you have 5 minutes for rebuttal. If there's anything you thought of while we were asking questions that we didn't cover maybe, or you thought you needed to add, this is your opportunity.
Well, our whole intent here is to preserve the quality of the neighborhood. And as I mentioned in the opening statement, we want the home to appear as if it were original to its design. Now, of course, someone put new siding on the home, some time ago, so we're going to match that. The product's readily available, and we can make it look like it's continuous.
Yeah, and for me, a lot of the details is when Richard is talking as far as what material we wanted to go to the door, what we decided on. Like this process for us has been extremely long and extremely cumbersome. We started out in a completely different department, and this whole idea of what we wanted to do almost started a year ago. So without knowing if the project was going to go through, it was so hard to get to the next level of the exact door or the exact window or the exact detail. So we put together a general idea of these are what we're looking at, these are the colors we're looking at, this is the style we want, this is the aesthetic we want. And our original plan, when we had here, had a variance in it. So then the variance went away. So we went way down this path before we knew hey, somebody, objected to the variance as far as whatever, and then we kind of had to start out from zero. So it's almost how far more do you want to go? So some of the finer details of the doors and things of that nature, I haven't completely smoothed out, but we know the options we're picking from, So that's more or less definitely something I want to put into the record of we completely been trying to cross every I and dot every T and go through all the details and things of that nature. So, but some of those things are tough to really nail down when you don't really have a solid plan of is this going to happen, or worst case scenario, do we need to look for a different house,
Right.
So we'd like to stay in our home. That's definitely our goal, and to comply with the neighborhood, as Richard was saying, and that is my piece.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, both of you. So we'll go ahead and close the public portion of the hearing, and the commissioners will discuss the case. Before we start, I just want to commend you. It is tough doing this kind of thing anyway, and then to be in a historic district and not realize it, and all of those issues that come with it. We always celebrate those of you who decide to stay and improve a property, so just know that we're champions and we're here cheering you on, even though maybe we're doing it a little quietly, so.
Thank
Okay,
you.
you did really well on your first try. So commissioners, any concerns or discussion points? Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry, Elaine. I've been so remiss. My pen's exploded and I've been otherwise occupied in my head. We should have the staff report before I close the public portion.
Thank you.
Elaine, I'm so sorry.
Staff finds this application to be consistent with the Tampa Heights design guidelines, and we did not have any other comments. Thank you.
All right. We will go ahead and close the public portion of the hearing. Excuse me. Commissioners, any comments or?
I'm sorry, I had a question for staff.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
I asked if there were any questions.
I'm sorry, I was slow.
I have a motion to reopen the public portion of the hearing, please.
I move to reopen the public portion of the hearing.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, state aye.
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 Go ahead, I'm so sorry, Dan.
I'm sorry, Elaine, it says, I think on the, it says somewhere in the documentation that this is a non-contributing structure, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
So,
We have limited, ability here to make a lot of requests. I mean, can you kind of spell that out for me?
It isn't necessarily that your ability is limited. What we typically suggest in the case of non-contributing structures when they are ones that are, such as this one, that are older than they might appear but have been altered over the years, is that, since they have the non-contributing status, that any alterations to them going forward be kind of maintained with the existing look of the structure, the existing style.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Any other questions while the mic is still open? No? All right. Sirs, you have another rebuttal if you would like to make any other statements? No? Okay, thank you. We'll close the public portion. Okay. Any discussion points?
I'll open. Ordinarily, if this were a significant contributing structure to the nature and character of the historic district, I would be thinking along the lines that the presentation here tonight is really not quite ready for prime time. There's a number of detail items which are material to your addition and your concept, which are missing at this point in time. However, this is a non-conforming building. It's very contemporary in some respects to its nature, and I could see where items such as the eaves and the soffits, the nature of the porch and its materials, windows, doors, can be easily coordinated with staff because of that nature. This is a modest addition to a modest non-conforming building. And that's my point right now.
I tend to agree. My only concern is that material choices are consistent with the mandates within the guidelines to be more in keeping with the quality that we typically see in the historic district. So there were a number of items that were noted to potentially be a vinyl, and we don't typically allow that in the district. So, and I know staff knows that, but I just want that to go on record if indeed we push this forward. That the mandate is that no matter the choices, that they are consistent, and vinyl is specifically not one that we typically allow. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I was a little concerned with but it's because it is a non-contributing structure. The addition, as we typically would say, we don't want everything to be copied. We don't want something built today to copy something that was done historically, if it was a contributing structure, if it was a different, hadn't been modified so many times. Because I don't even recognize this building as anything but something from the 70s or the 80s.
Right.
which is when all this was probably done. That said, I think keeping consistent with what it is now makes sense. The scale is certainly, of a modest enough scale that it's not doing anything to the neighborhood or changing the character of anything significantly. I did notice just a weird thing with those 3 big windows in the back, and I understand why it's being done, because it's from the it's making the space from the inside symmetrical around those windows and whatnot. But one of those windows is smack dab where the corner of the existing house is.
Right.
That window is inside the old part of the house. So there's something going on there with the roof that they may not be aware of yet, that's gonna happen when they start putting windows in when the corner of the
I
building
think
is.
what often happens, obviously, when we get these designs at this point, especially when they've been sort of back and forth with different
About different
departments,
things, yeah.
right? They haven't dug into it enough,
Yeah.
and these are basically schematic,
Yeah.
conceptual design drawings, right? And we
Yeah.
know the reality is once you get into
Yeah.
it and really figure out the existing framing, what you can and can't take
Right.
out, they're going to have to do some revising.
And I don't think there's any, there's nothing majorly wrong with this. Let's just put it that way. For what it is a modest addition to a house that's been extraordinarily altered over the years.
I agree.
So I would think that we would prohibit the vinyl, simply because it's not the existing house doesn't have vinyl windows, it has aluminum windows, which is not much better. But in keeping with the character of keeping the house looking cohesive, I would actually prefer the aluminum windows rather than a vinyl window or a vinyl door.
Well, metal windows are actually, they are historic within the districts,
Right.
because we can look at certain styles that have them.
Right, the jalousies and
Right.
such as that,
Right.
right. That's what I'm saying, I think the aluminum would be preferred to a vinyl window or a vinyl door or vinyl soffit or,
agree.
The hardy board is one thing, but I think vinyl is cheapening the historic district. And I think we need to be very careful about approving that.
I agree, there's a specific wording in there, quality materials.
Yeah.
Yeah, quality of materials. Any other thoughts?
Well, but I also don't think that that is the final determination of materials can be coordinated by staff. Because this is going to go, it's got to go through the building department for its permitting, and they will make necessary adjustments what about the framing here? Can you tell me what's at the corner of the building? So I think that that many of the things that we are concerned about because of the way we deal with, because we've dealt with construction before, will get worked out. And the final choice of materials can be worked through the staff here. So I personally tend to want to approve this.
Okay. Anyone willing to make a motion at this time? And it would have to,
Be conditioned.
be conditioned.
To get everything in a row here, Yes. Okay, move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in ARC 23-0000069 for the property located at 410 East Forest Avenue, based upon because, based upon the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Tampa Heights Historic District Design Guidelines. Oh, excuse me, I got off here. For the property located at 410 East Forest Avenue with the following conditions. And that is that doors, windows, and any exterior lighting and hardware be coordinated with staff. Because, based upon the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Tampa Heights Historic District Design Guidelines of the City of Tampa for the following reasons. That even though it is a non-contributing structure, the massing, building form, setback, orientation, and site covering are all consistent with those of the district.
So I'd like to amend that to state that materials shall not include, materials of any selected items shall not include vinyl. Do you accept that amendment?
I'll accept that.
Have a second, please?
I'll second the motion.
And before we have a up-down vote, sir, do you understand the condition put forth here tonight on the approval?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
May I ask, when you say,
Can't answer any questions. We're in the middle of a motion. So sorry. All in favor, please state aye and raise your hand indicating so. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. So sorry, we just can't once it's closed.
Commissioners, Elaine Lund, Historic Preservation Staff. Moving along the agenda to the next item this evening, we have ARC 23-119 at 6102 North Sewanee Avenue. This particular case was continued, from last month's hearing. This is a request for new construction in addition to the primary structure and an accessory structure with site improvements. This is a building located in Seminole Heights Historic District and was a contributing structure built around 1928. So moving now to the photo presentation. We have first the map of the historic district. We see the contributing structure highlighted in green there at the northwest corner of the historic district. Looking at the 1920s Sanborn map of the area, you can see where it's situated at the corner of Sewanee Avenue and Paris. And it's just a block away from Florida Avenue. The red line here shows the outline of the local historic district. This is the present-day aerial map, again with the outline shown in blue of the district and the outline of the subject property in green. This is the front of the building, the east side of the subject property. This is the south side off Paris. This is a view of the north side of the house. And a view of the rear of the property. Looking directly across the street, this is the subject, the house across the street from the subject property. This is just to the north of the subject site. And, oops, went the wrong way. And then across Paris to the south. This is the property across the street, across Paris. This view is looking north along Sewanee Avenue. And we have a view looking south across Paris Street. A view looking east, so the subject site here would be directly to your left, looking east along Paris across Sewanee, and then looking west toward Florida Avenue. This is just a view of the rear of the subject site. and a shot of the existing accessory structure on site. This is looking north in the alley adjacent to the property, just behind it. And then looking south in the alley. And that concludes the photo presentation. So at this time, I'd like the applicant to present the request.
Good evening. My name is Alan Dobbs with Forta Design Studio. My address is 5502 North Cherokee Avenue. My clients, it's a young couple. They're going to be starting a family soon. Their house is relatively small. It's only a 2-2. And they want to expand it to include a master suite and a total of 4 bedrooms and 3.5 bathrooms. We talked a little bit about this last time when we had our variance request, which was denied. So we reduced the size of the building so that we didn't, or the addition to the north, so that we didn't have to have the variance. But it is still an aggressive program, so the challenge here on the design is how to keep that in character and scale with the existing building. And so I'm going to spend some time kind of going through the area and the program. And then also, we have an accessory building. That's pretty standard, and I'll go through that. So to start with, this is just a chart to show how we arrived at the area. Obviously, if you look at the bottom line, which is not on here, but it's on your drawings, you know, it's a little over 3,000 square feet total by the time we're done. That sounds like a lot, but we need to look at how it's arrived at. And so you can see the existing condition right now is 1,100 square feet and 1,169 square feet. So they want to do a new kitchen, and I put the size of the spaces. The kitchen, family room, and this dining is all part of a great room in the back, because the modern families now live in the back of the house, unlike the front of the house, which is when these houses were built, you know, with the great front porches and everything. And then we have a certain amount for, and then also a utility room, and then a certain amount for, you know, hallway, circulation, things like that. So that's where that number came from. The second floor, we're doing a second floor addition because we want to conserve lot area. The lot's not very large, and there's really no place to put a master suite on the first floor or an additional bedroom, considering, you know, the kitchen and family room that we're adding. So we put those on the second floor. So again, the sizes of the master suite was a little oddly configured. So rather than putting the size of the bedroom, I put the total area of the closet, bathroom, and bedroom, which under 400 square feet is a very reasonable size master suite. There's a small bedroom, small bath, and then a small stair loft. With the kids, it's great to have a small upstairs living area at the top of the steps, so that's the reason for the stair loft. And of course, the wall circulation. So again, that's 633 square feet. So our total square feet ends up being 2,565 square feet. And then unconditioned area, we have the existing front porch, and we're adding a side entry porch, which you'll see in the floor plan, and also a rear porch, and the dimensions are there. So that's all very reasonable program, but it's a challenge to fit all this in on the site. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. So basically, the addition is on the back of the house. We're bumping out to the north, and we're bumping out to the south within the building setbacks. You can see that we are bumping out a little bit further than the existing building here, but there's no prescriptive thing in the design guidelines that say you can't go more than what's existing. But also there's a pattern at this particular intersection. The house on the southeast corner, you can see where this garage, this was an addition, protrudes out, and the car gives you a sense of scale. And since this was ARC 2137, this is 6009 North Swanee.
Can you
see.
zoom out, please?
Oh, excuse me?
Thank you. Could you zoom out, please?
Oh, zoom out.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. There you go. So you can see the original porch is here, but the garage is projected out even further than that. But the addition is set to the rear of the property. And you can see again in the street view how that works. Then on the northeast corner, this was a project I did a few years back. It's 6101 North Swanee, ARC 18351. This was an addition off the back. And here, we were able to not project out as far because we had our side setback here. And that showed the configuration of the addition and then the accessory building. So that's sort of the pattern at this intersection. So, so that's kind of how we arrived at, bumping for here and here. I'm going to go to a little larger site plan here. Talk about the building form a little bit more detail. So all this hatched area, cross-hatched area, is the addition on the first floor, and then the red is the second floor. The red area, you can see, steps back on the north and south side from the first floor, but also it aligns with the existing wall of the first floor. So the second floor is no wider than the existing house. Also, this house is unique because it has a cross gable, so the ridge runs this way. So when you have a cross gable, it's a big challenge to how do you add to the back because you're going to have a big valley. So we have this roof right here, which is with the ridge that's lower than the existing ridge here, and then we bumped out here for additional space to kind of break up this massing, and also we needed the space for a program area. The rest of the site, you can see the yellow is where we have a fence. There's already a fence on the north side right here, so it conceals the air conditioning units for the house. The backyard's going to be secured by this fence. There'll be a horizontal gate here, and then the AC unit for this accessory structure here. The accessory structure is fairly small. It's 12 feet wide, bumped out here for a stair. You'll see that in the detailed drawings of that building. This area right here is a little one-story porch on the ground floor that bumps out. The driveway is here. It's a 2-car wide driveway. And go back to the site plan. And you, so you can see the driveway. One of the comments of staff was to break up the scale of the driveway with scoring, so we do have it scored. This particular area right here, I'm going to zoom in some more. Transportation had a comment about having a sidewalk, which we're inclined not to do a sidewalk because there's no sidewalks on either side or anywhere on the 4 properties on the corner, so they'll probably pay into the sidewalk fund, but the scoring will be 5 foot right here for if they do end up doing a sidewalk. This drawing right here shows the addition, again, relative to the existing. We aren't altering any of the existing house any more than we have to, other than this little bump out right here. The floor plan, you can so this is area turns into like a stair hall with the stair that goes up to the second floor. They wanted a side entry porch, so that's why we're bumping out here. So, we can't bump out 2 feet and have a door here. So that's why we're bumping out approximately 5 feet so that we can have a little side entry porch, and that's very common on corner lots. And then we have a small utility room, and then we have a kitchen and the whole great room here. This area was reconfigured to create an ensuite bath for this bedroom, and then we have a little half bath with a closet and transition area that goes underneath the stair, and then a back porch across the back, but not fully across the back. Basically, it's the same width as the existing house, and you can see on this again the existing plan there. This is the second floor You can see this has it has a gable on this side and this side. So it has the ridge that runs this way. That's to keep the ridge as low as possible by having the roof span the short distance. And then we have a gable on the front here, but again, it's set way far back from the front. And we only have 8-foot ceilings on the second floor to keep the addition as low as possible. But you can see, you come up the stairs here, small hallway, small bath, bedroom, stair loft, and then the master suite in this area right here. This little graphic shows the existing roof, and this white area is and this area is where we're building over the existing. So we're not altering any more of the original structure than we absolutely have to. And this sort of shows the existing bump out on the back that's going to be removed. So, get into the elevations. The front elevation, you can see, let me zoom out a little bit. You can see the existing and proposed. So all of this is way far in the back. If you're standing in the front of the house, you actually wouldn't even see this because of the line of sight.
We actually can't see them in this rendering. I don't know why, but you
You
can't see the new at all.
you can't see this right here, this ghosted area here.
Oh, up on the big, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the small one. Okay, yes, you
Oh,
can
I
up on the
see it
top.
up there, and I see it on this.
Yeah,
side.
our little teleprompters aren't showing it.
Oh,
well.
but you can see it up there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. That's interesting. Okay. So that's the front elevation. Again, that front facing gable you can see there, and then the cross ridge that runs there. This is a cross section through the side porch that shows, the existing roof. It gives you a better view of the addition in the back and how we're just cutting into the roof just mainly for head clearance. This is the rear elevation. Again, this is just currently a bathroom with these high windows that were probably not original. And so we have the additions on the side here, and then we have the addition on the second floor, and then we have the porch here with 8x8 columns here. While we're here, the siding is going to be a smooth hardy lap siding with corner boards and brackets, and the clip gable or jerkin head roof, similar to the existing. This is a section going the other way that I used to figure out how much of the roof we had to get into for the stair. So you can see this matches the existing ceiling height, which is about 9 feet, and then we have 8 foot on the second floor. We did drop the ceiling in this area here because of the geometry of the roof. We didn't want to bump this up here. So, and then we see the porch on the back. So on the side elevation, from here forward's existing. This is where the side entry porch is. So this is the little window that's in the utility room, and then you see the gable there. So this projects out, but we're doing a finish board to sort of complete the geometry there. And then stepping back is this second floor area with a window that meets egress requirements since it's in a bedroom. And then we have the small window here that's, I think, part of the stair loft. And then you have the 2 windows in the kitchen, and then the porch on the back. I have some other drawings, large drawings for the wall section, which I'll go over in a minute. So the other elevation, the north elevation, similar to the south elevation, but we don't have the side porch. We have that's the living room, and with the direct vent fireplace. Same window configuration as the other side for the master bedroom, and then the window in the master. This house doesn't have piers. It actually has brick for the foundation as the stem wall. So we're going to have the stem wall foundation. I just realized I didn't show vents, so that, I'll expect that will be a condition of approval to show the vents and work that out with staff. The accessory building is, they did not want storage for a car, so that we went back and forth on, but we did do a wide door here for the living, that's right here. And so basically it's first floor living that has a stair that goes up to second floor living. And the reason they want this is they want it for a mother-in-law. So one of their parents is gonna live here, so their bedroom will be downstairs, but then guests can stay, upstairs if they like. So the building is oriented this way because that's the way it fit best on the site and with the patterns of accessory buildings, and also keeping the width of the building relatively narrow so that it's 16 foot wide. And then a porch off the first floor. One of the comments of staff was having the window or doors aligned with the second floor window. That's this window and this door, but you can see it's more important for the door to be centered in the space than aligning with this, because you'll never see this door. It's not within the public realm anywhere. And then on the elevation where the stair area bumps out on the side, we wanted to keep it very simple and clean, so we just had the roof project out and down to get the roof over that space. In the front elevation, they wanted a porch or a small balcony on the first and second floor, but we didn't want to do columns, so we're doing a large bracket, but we do have a concrete pad here, and then we have the porch here, which you can see. And the roof plan is just a simple shed roof, and then we have a similar roof form to the existing house with the jerkin head or clip gable roof. And then this is the north elevation of the accessory building, and with the porch coming off the side there. I'm gonna go through the wall sections and some details, and then I'm gonna go through some pictures of the products and materials, and then I'll conclude my presentation. This is a typical wall section at the house. As I mentioned, we have a continuous stem wall, so it's gonna be concrete block, but it will have a thin brick veneer, which is actually true brick. So it will look just like brick. It's not stucco brick. And then we'll have a water table and trim band at the base of the wall, and then we'll have suspended wood flooring for the floor structure. We'll have hardy, actually on the main house we'll have wood siding to match existing. On the accessory structure we'll have hardy to match, or hardy on the accessory building. And then the wood windows on the house, I'll show the window details in a second. And then the eave detail, which is such an important detail. I know I talk about this every time I present a project, but I still see so many contractors getting it wrong, which is so frustrating. You have your rafter tail, and then you have your finished roof deck. So it's actually notched, or if you do a sister rafter tail, it drops down so that your finished roof deck can cantilever out an inch to an inch and a half, or 3/4 of an inch, and then your drip sticks out here so it's not dripping on the end of the rafter tail. Otherwise, the end of the rafter tail will rot out in less than 2 years. And then dimensional asphalt shingles for the roof, 3.5 inch frame walls for the main structure, and then spray foam insulation for the roof and for the floor. The wall section at the bottom, at the accessory building, is a monolithic slab, 2x4 frame walls, 2x10 actually, I'm sorry, that should be 12 because we're of the span, so that's actually 12, or 11 and a quarter, but 12 inches nominally. And then we, 2x4 frame, second floor walls, hardy siding on the exterior of the walls, and then the same eave detail, but with smaller, these are actually 2x6 rafter tails with the same sort of eave detail there. The balcony on the south side was a little tricky because we didn't want to have columns, so we did an oversized structural bracket to support it. But you know, with craftsman style houses, it's all about the craftsmanship and celebrating wood joinery and all that. So that's really what we're doing here. This is right next to the Sea House, so there was a lot of traffic. It's very visible. So this is kind of like a little jewel that's on the south side of the building. So we have the 6x6 knee brace, and then we have 4x6 joist with 1.5 inch or 5/4 PT wood decking, and then a simple picket rail with 5/4 square pickets at 5 inches on center, and then a simple 5x5 wood column that matches a 5x5 beam, and then we have the 2x6 rafters with the same roof deck that matches the eaves and the soffits. On the gable ends, I forgot to mention on the other detail, it actually is flat here. It's not sloped up to the underside of the roof deck, which is a little bit different. And then we have these corbelled brackets here. The window detail is really based on what's so common in the neighborhood. Just sort of a heavy 1 3/4 sill, 4.5 inch by 1.5 inch side casing. And you want the 1.5 inch because the siding is about 3/4 of an inch, so you want that proper profile panning of the window. And then you have a little bit of overhang on the head casing, and then a drip cap. And then the window details, you can see the head casing, drip cap flashing above, and the typical sill with a little quarter round below, and then a typical jam detail, which is similar to the head, but you just have the 4.5 or 4 3/4 inch casing. I'm going to start with some of the sites. So this is why I did not want to do a smaller scoring pattern. This is on Central. This is part of new construction. This was a new driveway. That I think is just too small. The wood fence that we're doing is going to be a simple board-on-board kind of fence. The shingles are going to be a dimensional asphalt shingle. I forgot to mention when I was going through the elevations, the existing windows have a 4/1 pattern typically. True divided light since they're the original wood windows, and we're going to do simulated divided lights with the new windows. This just shows the little bracket detail a little better. This is an interesting piece that's off the porch, so I don't know what used to be there, but it's further out than our addition. The columns are going to be a manufactured box column, and with just simple trim at the top and bottom. This is a door that I've specified quite a bit. It's got a very fine wood grain to it, and it's great for a sash type French door. And I don't know if you can tell, but you can see the fine wood grain here, and then the simple, almost petty type glazing that you would have with a wood door. And then the hardware would be just a dark bronze, period appropriate kind of hardware. For the accessory building, we're going to use, this is Sierra Pacific H3. It's a hybrid window. That's the H3. You have aluminum clad on the outside, you have vinyl jam liners, and then you have wood on the inside. And then lighting, we were just going to go with some sort of period appropriate craftsman style light. So this would be a wall mounted light, and then this would be a ceiling mounted light. I'm gonna spend the last couple minutes just going through the conditions to make sure that I covered all the conditions. So one of the conditions was to discuss how the addition is differentiated from the historic structure and how it's compatible in scale. You know, I mentioned how the second floor is stepped back from the first floor, but also the addition on the first floor, it also projects out as well. So part of differentiating new from existing is sort of bumping out, bumping in, bumping up. So we're kind of doing a combination of those. I talked about consider aligning the doors, an accessory building with upper story windows. Verify that the window buttons will be simulated divided lights, which I did mention they're simulated divided lights. And then I talked about the scoring pattern of the driveway. So with that, I'll conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dobbs. We'll go ahead and ask for public comment if there is anyone here who would like to speak for or, oh, I'm sorry. Elaine, why aren't you calling me on this? We'll go to the staff report first.
Thank you, Chair. The staff finds that this application is consistent with the Seminole Heights Design Guidelines. I just wanted to clarify that I thought I heard at one point that the applicant stated that the siding on the main structure was to be hardy, and then later stated that it was to be wood. So just to clarify that one point. And otherwise, I have no additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lind. Now we will move on to the public comment period. If there's anyone here who would like to speak for or against the project, you have the opportunity to come forward at this time. I don't see anyone. So move on to commissioners asking questions, and I will start on my right this time. Any questions at this time?
Not at this time.
Mr. Sutton?
Sir, if we can, for just a brief moment, I would like to revisit one of the conditions that staff have been talking to you about, and that's the nature of how your addition is differentiated from the existing historic structure and fabric. The existing dwelling, in my opinion, comes across as this very highly detailed jewel box of a dwelling. And I have a concern where your addition and accessory structure, particularly the addition, having so many planes on the floor plan level and on the elevation height level, step back level, all of them mimicking the existing detailing of the existing dwelling, creates a certain chaotic busyness. And that's my personal thought on the matter. And I'm wondering, what was your working concept with your client with respect to the replication of all these details? And had you discussed or have you considered how some of these details may be simplified or made of a more diminutive scale?
Yeah, and my position on that is, with the detail, you could intentionally do something different. Like, for example, we could not do the clip gable. We could not do the knee braces. We could simplify it, but then it becomes foreign and different, and it's not fitting in as well. And I know it's always a fine line between, not giving a false sense of history, which is one of the Secretary of Interior standards, but also, doing something that is compatible with similar details and things like that. I think inherently any addition is going to look different because you don't have the patina that you do with the existing structure. And so that's the different planes and stuff. I thought it was fairly simple. I know what you're saying. When you look at it from the side, you see a lot of different gables, but in reality, at the first floor, it just has the two the two side gables on the first floor, and then another side gable, on the second floor. And I guess I was just trying to be consistent, with the addition and not be too different with the details and materials so that they looked foreign and not as compatible with the existing structure.
Thank you very much. I have no further question at this time.
Commissioner Myers?
Would it be possible to change the exposure on the wood siding? Is there a similar exposure that you could use that wouldn't call itself out, but still would be, if you looked at it very carefully, you'd go, oh yeah, I see where the old
Yeah.
started and the new, and the new left off.
That's an interesting idea because they're with these pattern wood sidings, there's actually a pattern book for those. And just regular beveled siding was probably the most common, but they also had, it was like a double beveled siding where they would take a 1x6 and mill it so that it looked like, half the exposure, and sometimes that was kind of a square cut, and other times it had a radius edge to it. And, at all the transitions, they're either at a 90-degree intersection of a wall, or we have a finished board. But the finished board that I talked about was all new. But I guess what I'm trying to say is if we did that, that would be we would have a transition element. So I think I wouldn't see that as being a problem, because whenever you do something different, I feel real strongly that you have to have some sort of transition between the two.
Right. And also in general, I always feel that when you're looking through a historic district, it's very rare that you see an accessory building that is as carefully detailed as the main building. And so I was thinking, well, you've clipped the gables in your accessory building as well.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, maybe that could also demonstrate a little more of its simplicity. It's the sort of not so handsome younger brother of the big house there. But I want to compliment you that your presentation is very good and everything is there. And everything has been worked out with a kind of Swiss precision. So the suggestions that I am making are really only to sort of gild the lily here.
Yeah.
So
I have been guilty of over detailing accessory structures, but that is a good point, and that would be very reasonable if the accessory structure didn't have the clip gable and was a little more simplified on the gable ends. But I always sort of default with more detail. You can always take it away. It's a little more challenging if you add it. So, okay, thank you.
Mr. McCall?
First of all, I just want to say I'll compliment you as well as Mr. Myers just did on the thoroughness of your presentation. We wish we had many presenters come through with such thoroughness as you did, and it's very helpful to us. Because it gives us so much more to nitpick.
Yeah, that's the risk. Yeah.
But I'm gonna continue on a theme in that it is very important to me in historic preservation, and particularly with additions, that the addition does not cheapen the original historic building. And by cheapen, I mean basically become indistinguishable. So that the historic house, you can no longer find the line between the historic house and the addition. And especially for such an exquisite example as this house, I have no problem with the clipped gables and using the same vocabulary. I just think it could really use different words. But in the same vocabulary. So I'm very concerned that there is a lack of differentiation from the original to the new house. And yes, I think you could, as Mr. Myers suggested, could you change the scale of the brackets on the addition, or detail them differently, or route them, put a route, reveal around them, so that you could say, oh, those are all new brackets, those are existing brackets, kind of thing. The same with the windows. I think you're gonna have original, true divided windows. I think you mentioned that 4/1. Do you think you could live with changing the additions windows to something similar, like either a 3/1 or a 5/1? Something that says, okay, yes, we're staying in the same family, the same vocabulary, but these are different than the original houses. Would that be possible?
Mhm. Do you want me to answer? I didn't know if you were.
Yeah,
Okay,
I was
okay.
trying to make a question out of that somewhere.
No, those are great. Those are great ideas, and it's actually something that I had considered, but I didn't do, was to, on the entire addition for the new house, is not to do divided lights, because
And
one of the
that
things.
would be totally appropriate.
Right, and there's also precedent for, on this house, because I'll show you. If we can go to the, yeah, there you go. These are original windows, and they're 4/1.
Right.
These are original windows, but they're 1/1. And I thought, well, that's really interesting. I wonder if that's because, like what they do in a lot of the old houses, they do the nicer stuff up front, like they would do oak floors in the living room, but then they would do pine in the bedrooms. And I'm wondering if they did that on this house, so I'm thinking on all the addition, we just don't do any divided lights.
I think it's very important to preserve the character of the original house by not copying it. I think that is
Right.
a honorable thing, and the Department of Interior Standards specifically state that. That, things are not to be duplicated, but they are to be compatible. So they can be different and still be compatible.
Right.
And I hope you will take that into consideration.
Okay.
Can you put up the site plan that had that fence line highlighted?
Sure.
I don't think it's up right now. Please and thank you. So there will be a gate at the accessory structure. It says horizontal wood gate.
Yeah.
Is that gonna match the fence then?
Yeah, it'll match the fence.
The
It'll be the exact
opaque?
same material.
Okay.
Right, it'll just be on the track and it slide sideways.
Are there any other gates being added, like a man gate or anything like that?
I probably should have put one here.
And that will be similar in nature?
Oh, well,
in terms
actually,
of-
I'm sorry. Let me correct myself. I think there should be a gate right here and a little concrete walk. Because that, I had mentioned the importance of that side entrance that they
Right,
wanted.
you gotta walk to the sea.
But
Yeah.
You're walking into grass. There's no sidewalk.
Well, they may or may not put a sidewalk in, but I would encourage a sidewalk, but that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But yes, I would agree that the walk probably should go all the way to the curb edge if you're gonna do that, but, the gate would be of the same material then, opaque,
Yes,
in your
exactly.
opinion? Okay. Can I look at the elevations again? The front and then the, side from the side street. I don't do directions anymore because I get them wrong. Let me look at the front first, please.
Oh, the front?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe put them next to this one if you can. I'm sure they're the same scale, right?
Actually, let me hold it a little bit more, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. do what you need to do. As you're doing that, I do have a question. Have you done any 3D renderings to study the massing of this?
No, I was going to, but to be honest, the budgeted time on this job was
I
kind of up. I
understand.
didn't want to go to my client for additional services, so,
Can you pull that over to the,
a little bit further. Not sure how far, is that,
so which one's the front elevation?
this is the front.
Oh, okay,
This
okay.
is
That's right, I
before
can't see
and-
that. Can you pull that to the left just a little bit more?
Yeah,
I have to look up.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay,
has that got it for you?
that's good, that's good. Don't move it anymore, because then the
You'll be cut off.
closed
yeah.
captioning goes over the
Oh,
rendering, so
okay.
I can't
Oh,
see.
yeah, okay.
I'm waiting for the closed captioning to go away.
No, here, I'll move it up. Here, let me move it up a little bit. Yeah.
There, that's good, that's
Is that
good, that's
okay?
good. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, technology, we love it. So is the rear porch intended to be detailed similarly to the front porch? I mean, I know the roof's different, obviously, but it looks like the railing is potentially the same. I know the columns are different, because you had mentioned what they were going to be box columns, but what is
Yeah.
the railing like there?
Yeah, what I do on back porches usually is I do a sitting rail, because usually we're not higher than 30 inches above grade. It's
Okay.
just an extra place to sit. To keep the detail not as elaborate as the front porch, which has square columns, it has a pair of columns on brick piers or plinths. So we didn't do that in the back. You know, on the western exposure, I didn't talk about the porch, by the way. It is a concrete porch. It'll be a broom finished concrete, because that's a western exposure, and wood, there's no way wood would last.
Right.
And so it just has those simple square columns with a little bit of detail on them, and then the simple sitting rail.
Okay. And then the ceiling plane of that porch will be?
Oh, yeah, and I'm sorry, I should have had a section through the porch. Yeah, that would be either beadboard, let me say tongue and groove wood, because it could be beadboard or, 6-inch or 3.5-inch
Okay.
bead groove.
Do you know if they intend to put a ceiling fan on their back porch?
That I don't know. I
Because they
usually show
have one
this.
on their front porch, and,
Yeah.
yeah, it would be, if they do intend to have one, just getting a cut sheet and having that pushed in
Okay.
front of staff.
Yeah.
Let me see, what else? There are no vents on the proposed addition, right? I see that they're on the existing, but
Yes.
in the
because-
attic, I mean.
Yeah,
I mean,
because we're
yeah.
doing spray foam
Yeah,
insulation.
okay. But no faux or anything like, which is
No.
fine, if it's not.
Well, that actually helps distinguish.
I agree.
I was thinking that too after what you said.
Can you put the other elevation of the other side up, please, for me now? Thank you. Or just push it on. There we go. Hey, look at that. Could I have planned
We
your
learned that in
presentation?
architecture school, yeah.
Okay. I have no other questions at this time. Any other questions for either the applicant or staff at this time? Mr. Miles, did we skip you?
No, no questions.
Any? None?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you were speaking about the doors, and you said they had a fine wood grain on them,
Yes.
but they aren't actually wood. Is that the?
No, they're cellular PVC. And, I know when you do new fenestration in a contributing structure, we want to use wood, but French sash type doors that are wood just don't, hold up,
Mhm.
And this wood with the trim around the glass is so similar to original, or doors of that period, so that's why I specified it.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? You have 5 minutes for rebuttal, Mr.
I,
Mr. Dubs?
you know, I thought our discussion was great, and it was great points, you know, and I'll definitely be willing and open to the conditions on some of that, like having the, maybe the accessory structure less detailed than some of the other things that y'all mentioned. But in the sort of the overall picture, but I think the very first comment by Mr. Sutton was this chaotic busyness. You know, that's a challenge because we're trying to break down the massing of a lot of area that we're adding to the house. So I think it's just a necessary evil, but I don't think it's really an evil. I think that's what makes bungalows look really interesting is when you have a lot of roof lines and a lot going on, as long as it's consistent and it's not just all different things all over. So, yeah, so that's my response. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dodds. Before you leave, can you leave the
Elevation
left
up?
side up? Can you put the other one back up that you just took off?
Yeah, like I
Next
had
to it?
before?
Yes,
Okay.
the side street one. Yes, thank you. All right, and then move them to the left a little bit, little group, to the left. Thank
Oh,
you.
I see it got cut off, yeah.
All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and close the public portion of this hearing, and we will discuss the case. So, yes? What? We discussed it. Yes, we did. Everybody's gonna call me on everything tonight. So I think the elephant in the room is whether or not there's enough differentiation between the old and the new.
I think it's very well done.
Mr. Dobbs always does
Yeah.
really good work, and his drawings are always presented well. He has the right information, but again,
Right.
we're here to talk about an addition on a beautiful little cottage
Right.
that's one stories.
And I think the differentiation is critical. I think brackets can't be duplicates. I think the siding shouldn't be the same size. Even the brick facing of the foundation can be a slightly different brick, compatible but slightly different than the original. Obviously, it's going to be. It's not going to match because the original brick is brick.
True brick, yes. So
And I think that actually goes forward too as well, to the accessory structure, which in itself should have some.
Its own level of differentiation.
It should be subservient to the main
dwelling.
house. Right, so we have a main house, and then we have an addition on the main house, and then we have an accessory structure. And both the addition and the accessory structure are supposed to be subservient to the main house, and the accessory structure is subservient to the addition
More so,
on the main house.
more so.
Agreed.
So, you know, without telling him how to design the building, we basically just say, you know, it needs to be different somehow.
But it's not, we're not talking about an earth-shattering change in terms of the materiality or the direction that this is
I mean, I
going
think
for.
the oversized bracket is one way that gets done on the accessory structure.
We're talking detailed tweaking.
Right, right.
Taking away the bracket.
Well, no, it differentiates
It's
itself,
different, it's different from
It's
the
different from
original
everything else.
and from the addition.
but it's not subservient.
I think what we're talking about here, and it was kind of hinted at during the discussion points that were being made during the questioning round, was the addition needs to go through an edit. And that edit means, let's really look at it and find the things that maybe can be relieved of their duty. I agree with Commissioner Sutton's assessment that there's a lot of detailing going on, and it's a massive addition. There's no other way of describing it. And I think it's always beautiful work that Mr. Dobbs presents, and in another case, you know, as a new structure outside of it, you know, an addition, I would say it's just beautifully done. But I think the main fact that we have to consider the subservience in the nature of an addition to this historic property is that to help minimize the impact of this addition is to allow the beautiful details of the original structure to shine, and let's reduce the use of, and I agree, I think the brackets are overused. I think wherever we can look at taking the clipped gables away, maybe you only use them in a couple of conditions, right, that give homage to the original structure, but not every elevation. And then the size of the siding, I don't mind it. I think the change in materiality and the fact that there are enough ins and outs to keep them from being completely aligned, I think you could do it that way. The color of the brick is always gonna shine through, so I think that's another way, obviously. I think it's almost there, I just feel like it does need that edit, and I agree on the accessory structure. I feel it needs to be subservient to all of that, and that's typical of any, I mean, there are very, very few examples of an accessory structure being as detailed as the primary, so. Mr. Myers, any thoughts?
I'm wondering if we need to see this again, or if we have supplied sufficient direction that it can go forward.
I think it's nice that we're talking about reducing detail instead of having to add it because it's too plain or, doesn't honor the neighborhood enough kind of thing, yeah. So I think it's a good discussion that we're having, but can the clipped gables occur without brackets so that there's a half and half? You're going 50-50.
Well, again,
Or you have brackets and no clipped gables.
right, I
kind
think
of
there are multiple ways that you can slice this.
Right.
I do think the question is valid. Can this move forward with staff coordination and approval, or should it come back to us? Because we are
Right.
asking for removal of detailings. Now, we're not suggesting that the massing's wrong, or the form is wrong.
It's about as big an addition as you could put on this house. I really do respect the fact that on the second floor, it gets pulled back to align with the original house.
Absolutely.
The porch gets pulled back to align with the original house and doesn't extend the full width of the first story addition. I mean, all those things say we're trying to maintain and respect the main
Right.
structure.
Right.
They do. But now the duplication, I know, and the porch is even different. It doesn't have brick piers, it's subservient, the railing's lower. In fact, that should be a condition that the railing not be of a full scale and a full duplication of the front.
I don't think that needs to be a condition. He stated that it was
Yeah.
different, and he told us why, so I don't think that needs to be a condition.
But, yeah, I mean, do we simply state these things as conditions and say we trust him and staff to erase a few things?
On both this and the accessory structure.
Yeah. I mean, personally,
I think we honestly can. I mean, we're dealing with an architect for this project who's very well versed in the nature of these historic properties in the city of Tampa, particularly here in Tampa Heights and Seminole Heights, which he's very, very familiar with.
yeah.
And what we're looking at here is some detail tweaking. We're not talking about some wholesale changes. I'll total redesign
Right,
or anything.
there's no change in the
We're
geometries of
talking,
the
you know,
two structures.
It's just
a
little
dr-
detail.
a dressing of some detailing
Yeah.
for like with the windows and the brackets, perhaps the siding, roof forms perhaps on the accessory structure, so that we have something that is of a,
Right.
what did I write down here? A differentiation in detail and scale to the original building itself.
Right, right. And it goes main structure, addition,
Accessory is lesser than the
yeah,
addition. yeah.
it's lesser and then lesser.
Mhm.
Yes. I would agree with that, even though it's all exquisite. And if this is a brand-new house being built on a brand-new lot, you know,
And we're looking at a presentation here that's entirely complete.
right,
Yes.
right.
Any other thoughts? Anyone willing to entertain a motion at this time? I'm sure you have all your notes if you are. This one's a toughie.
I'll move to grant certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at the public hearing in ARC 23-119 for the property at 6102 Swanee Avenue, with the following conditions: that detailing and scale of accessory members of the addition be slightly less detailed than the original house's details and differentiated from the original house, and that the accessory structure be reduced in complexity to be simpler and subservient to the addition and the main house, both,
In terms of its detailing?
in terms of its detailing.
Okay.
Because, based upon the finding of fact that the proposed project is consistent with the, where are we, Tampa Heights?
Seminole.
Seminole Heights, design guidelines, and the city of Tampa for the following reasons: that it honors the neighborhood's massing, maintains quality within the district, and it's consistent with rhyming, the rhythm and spacing of other houses in the neighborhood.
I will second that motion.
Before we move on the vote, Mr. Dodds, do you understand the conditions? put
Yes, I
forth
do.
here? Thank you. We'll go ahead and vote then. All in favor, please state aye and raise your hand indicating so.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I believe you're standing up again.
The agent's requesting a 5-minute
Certainly.
break just to set up for the next case.
We'll go ahead and break for 5 minutes.
Commissioners, Elaine Lund, Historic Preservation Staff. As we move through toward the end of our agenda this evening, the final item that we're hearing tonight is ARC 23-156 for the address of 5506 North Suwanee Avenue. This is located in the Seminole Heights Historic District. There's an existing structure on the site, a circa 1926 contributing bungalow. And the request is for new construction of an addition to the primary structure and a new accessory structure with site improvements. Moving to the photo presentation, coming up on our screen here. There we are. The subject property is located in the Seminole Heights Historic District. The red line shown as the local historic district boundary, and the blue is the national historic district boundary. You can see that this subject site in green here is about midway down but north of Hillsborough Avenue in the district, about a block away from Florida Avenue. This is the 1920s Sanborn map of the subject area, showing the subject site in green. Again, the red line here is the historic district boundary for the local district, which runs along Florida Avenue. And the subject site is on Suwanee between Comanche and Mohawk Avenues. This is the present-day aerial of the site. Again, you can see where it's located on Suwanee. There's an alley between it and the commercial development along Florida Avenue. This is the front or the east side of the existing structure. This is the south side of the existing structure. And the north side. And we have a photo of the rear. And another shot of that, the existing rear of the structure. This is the existing accessory structure on site, non-contributing, as are all the accessory structures in Seminole Heights. This is the property directly to the south. And the property to the north. And then turning and looking across the street, this is on the east side of Suwanee. This photo is looking north toward Comanche Avenue. And looking south toward Mohawk Avenue. This is looking north and within the alley, so the subject property would be to your right. And then looking south in the alley, and you can see the existing and accessory structure on the site there to your left. And that concludes the photo presentation, so at this time I'll have the applicant present his request.
Thank you, Ms. Lund.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Alan Dobbs with Florida Design Studio, 5502 North Cherokee Avenue. And so, thank you for allowing me to have that 5 minutes. There are some people here that wanted to speak on this project, about this project, so I wanted to make sure that I could talk with them first, so I could address their concerns during my presentation. So basically, this project is, like many of the projects in Seminole Heights, you know, it's a young family, they have a child, and they want to add some additional living space. And the space they want to add is they want to add a master suite, because their house is a 2-bedroom right now. And there's an office in the back currently. Since that part is going to be removed, they're going to move the office to the front room. And they want to have like a family room in the back of the house, and then also have a porch on the back, and then a small utility room and a new kitchen. And then they also wanted to do a new accessory structure because they have just that single-story structure that is not in very good condition. So we will start with the site first. The people that are here, they had expressed some concerns about the driveway and its proximity to their driveway because they're very close to each other. Unfortunately, I don't have their driveway here, but you can see where our driveway here is here and the approximate distance to the property line. So on the site plan here, because of the proximity of the building with the addition off the back, our accessory building on this side is just long enough to get in a single car garage. So that's why it's 20 feet. And then the rest of the space goes this way. Oops, sorry. And then, but we kept the building 16 foot wide, so where the garage is, it bumps out. And then there's a little entry porch there. Actually, let me go to a larger, it's a little clearer. Okay. So the new accessory building is 3 feet from this property line. Even though there's a 3 foot accessory building setback here, we're 4 feet, which is actually more than the existing building is right now. So it's actually further from the property line. The addition off the back of the house is approximately 21.5 feet, which you'll see in the floor plan how we arrived at that dimension. But there's a center ridge running down this way, which is higher than this cross ridge, which is part of the addition. So this is subservient to this. And then we have a small bump out here on this side that's stepped in, so we get a gable on the back. And then they wanted a porch, so this porch actually has a roof that's separate from this, that's a little bit lower slope. Transportation had a comment that we needed to have a 36 foot long solid parking area. So the driveway right now is 7 feet wide, so we're doing 7 feet by 36 feet, which is the minimum area. There's no fencing that we'll be adding along here, but there will be fencing right here for the and a gate here. I should mention, even though this is being designed for a garage, they don't want to use it as a garage. They want to use it as like an exercise space. But I encourage them to design it so that it could be a garage. So that's why we don't show any driveway here. And then there's some concrete steps here that go up to the porch that's concrete there. And you can see our setback is more than the 7 foot on the side. We're bumping out just what we need on this side. And then on this side, we're bumping out no further than this existing bump out, which is where the dining room is right now. Things like the air conditioning units. This is the existing unit. Well, the existing unit's in this area, and it's just going to be relocated there. And then the one for the accessory building is going to be located here. They're going to eventually do some sort of outdoor area, so we have a little pad there where the door is to the stairs that go up to the second floor, and also a pair of doors here that go into like a storage area. This drawing right here shows the addition. So the existing house is about a little over 1,300 square feet, but 1,107 of that, which is basically this right here, we are altering some condition area here we're altering, which is about 212 square feet, but we're adding about 650 square feet. So the total house is going to be under 2,000 square feet of conditioned space by the time we're done. So this addition, unlike the previous project, is a little more, a little less size that we have to deal with. And then you can kind of see the outline of the addition there. This back porch was an addition to the house, and so that's being removed. The kitchen is not original to the house, so we're reconfiguring this area in here. So the floor plan, I know this board is looking more at the exterior, but I think the floor plan helps inform us as far as what we're doing with fenestration and massing, building form and things like that. So the office that was back here gets moved to the front, and then we create kind of a period type French doors with openings there for the office. So you have the small living area here, which is very typical in these bungalows, and then you have the new larger living area in the back here. The dining area remains dining, and then this area gets reconfigured into a more functional kitchen, galley type kitchen. And then this is where we're bumping out. So this is where we have the pantry and utility here, and then again the family room, and then this is all the master suite in this area. And there was a bathroom here that is getting removed and then reconfigured for this bathroom here. So that's with the family room and the pantry in this area, and then also the master and the closet. That's what sort of dictated this distance here. And then the master bathroom, we bumped it out just a little bit from the porch because we didn't want one large gable to go this way. We wanted to break it down, keep this ridge lower than this ridge. So anyway, so that's why the building form is like that. The accessory, and you can see here on the roof plan, you have the main ridge, and then you have the cross gable, which is part of the addition. This is like 4.5 and 12, the original roof slope, and then this is 3 and 12, this porch here. And then we have the accessory building that has the ridge running this way, and then there's a lower one-story roof, which is this part here. So the second floor is a very simple rectangle, but on the first floor, it bumps out a little bit right here. We looked at different floor plan options as far as what's going on here, but like I said, we're designing it for a garage. But whatever we do on the inside, we're going to respect this opening here. We're going to have 2 small windows on the side here, and then the access for the second floor is here, and then it's just a big open space with the bathroom on the second floor. So the elevations, it was hard to get, one of the comments that staff has was to try and get these elevations aligned, but I didn't want to cut the original elevation so you can see it's just shifted over a little bit so we get this full elevation here, but here you can see the addition from here over relative to the house. So so we have a gable here with this similar clip gable, and then we have a lower slope roof over the porch, a simple square column on the back. Here we have brick piers with wood lattice infill. Right now the house has asphalt shingles, which are not original. But you can see it has a larger exposure. So it's all in very good condition, and so I think they're going to leave that in place. So, but if they ever do remove it, the wood should probably be good underneath there. So you can see that the siding on the addition will be different than the existing. And then on the accessory building, you can see how we have a carriage house type garage door with a sort of a craftsman style door here. So this part bumps out, and then we just have a pair of windows and then a single window for light in the storage area workshop. And then on the side over here, you can see how where the porch is here, we had to meet the minimum eave to eave separation here, and then we have this side elevation of this accessory structure, and they did want full height windows here, but there'll be a fence along the property line right here. Again, that shouldn't affect the neighbors because I think there's a fence there now, and so that will give them privacy for those windows. The other side, well, the rear elevation, you can see, I had this hatching just to show it as to make it look like it's a screen porch, but it's actually, what we are presenting is it to not be a screen porch, and on the revised floor plan I have, it's just called a rear porch. And then my clients will decide later if they want to screen it in, and if they do, then they will work with ARC, or Historic Preservation staff at that time. But you can see on the rear elevation, you know, the smaller gable, the cross gable here, and then the lower slope roof there on the back. These are actually concrete steps here, so we're gonna take these concrete steps and relocate them here. But we're a little bit lower because of the porch here, so we don't have to have as many of them, and we don't have to go out as far. And then on the north side elevation, similar to the south elevation, we have this element of the building, or mass of the building, that projects out. These are the windows in the master bedroom, and then this is the bathroom, master bath. And then these are in the same plane, but to complete the geometry, we put a finished board here. On the accessory building, this is the person door that goes upstairs, and then there's the pair of doors to the storage area or workshop, which is basically two of these doors just side by side, and that's where the concrete slab is there. And these windows are in the little office area and bathroom, so that's why they're smaller on that side there. The next drawing has the wall sections and window details, but because they're so small, I printed them larger. So this accessory building has a monolithic concrete slab, 2x4 frame wall with hardy siding, and 12-inch floor structure, 2x4 second floor frame walls, 8-foot ceiling on the first floor and second floor to keep the scale of the building as low as possible. And then on the roof, we're going to have engineered trusses with the 2x6 top cord that will be notched out for the finished soffit here. And as you can see, we have a 2-foot overhang. So the wall section at the house is, it's a concrete block structural pier with thin brick veneer on the outside, and then the siding comes all the way down here, and then the typical window detail, which I'll get to in a minute. And then I think one of the staff comments was clarify the overhang. I actually have a roof plan where I have it dimensioned. It's 2'2", so it's a little bit larger than 2 feet. So that's why I said match existing. But this should be dashed. We basically have a 2x6 rafter tail, and what's beyond is the barge rafter, which they're typically, you know, one size bigger. On the gable section, we have, you can see the 2x4 frame wall, gable end truss with the that clip gable, and it has the soffit with the bracket, I call it a corbel bracket, that's supporting the barge rafter right here. Then the window details, pretty typical. These are, you know, we have the pair of windows at the garage, so these are similar. Or you can see the trim, you know, with the 1 3/4 inch sill, the quarter round at the bottom to cover the gap between the siding and the sill, and then the larger 1.5 inch side casing, and then head casing and drip cap, and then the wider spread mold to sort of represent the old weight pockets, and then the similar details with the windows. So speaking of window, that shows, the existing typical window. The gable end vent, this is what it is on the front, but on the back it's similar, but it doesn't have the window in the middle. And it looks like it might have been replaced with metal because you can see it buckling. So it's basically going to be something like this, but with no window in the middle, pulled together. The roof shingles are going to be just the standard dimensional asphalt shingles. Usually over the carriage house or garage door, we do some sort of light like this, period appropriate light that casts a nice parabolic light pattern over the door. And then again, these Craftsman style light at the porch, for ceiling mounted, and then also a similar wall mounted one. And I'm sorry, but I did not bring fence detail with me, but hopefully the board will allow us to work that out with staff. And the three ladies that are here, I think they would like to speak. They weren't sworn in, but I just wanted to let you know that before I conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the staff report, and then we'll get them sworn in during the public comment period.
Thank you. Elaine Lund, Historic Preservation Staff. Staff finds this application consistent with the Seminole Heights design guidelines. There were some conditions in the staff report, and I believe the applicant has discussed those. And with that, I have no additional comments at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lynn. If we can go ahead and have those who are not sworn in stand, please.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you provide today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you.
So we'll go ahead and open up the public comment period. Mr. Dobbs, if you would. They'll need to come.
Yeah, I know. I'm just getting this.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. So when coming up to the dais, wanting to, just 1 minute before you come up, when you come up, please state your name clearly and spell it, and then you'll have 3 minutes to add in comments.
There's a little clock right here so you can watch.
Okay. Okay, my name is Beata, B-E-A-T-A, and the last name is Mulholland, M-U-L-H-O-L-L-A-N-D. I think by the talk that we had with the Mr. Dobbs, who is a wonderful asset in our additions and Seminole Heights, we did clarify a lot of stuff. There was an issue when I looked at here at the square footage of the main house. My issue was really very in that direction, since it seemed like there was a lot of house on that little lot. And really, I really comes from just a nostalgia, because I ended up in Seminole Heights 1987. So to me, it's changes. People are building these huge additions and all that stuff. So I think that by doing that, the little, the character of the neighborhood is just gonna go poof. But it's neither here or there. They're wonderful neighbors. They've been neighbors of ours for a long time. And right now that we have squared away the issue, which is the mainly was the driveway, because we both park and have access to the parking really in between the houses. So when I kind of looked at the plans, and I'm not an architect or anything, I saw a fence and a new driveway, and I'm thinking, oh my God, they're gonna put a fence all the way in the driveway? What's gonna happen here? But I think that we pretty much gotten an answer from Mr. Dobbs, and I have no issues. I think he's gonna do a wonderful job for our wonderful neighbors. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ma'am, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Could you come forward and state your address? I forgot to tell you that you needed to do that.
My,
Your address.
it's 20124 Heritage Point Drive, Tampa, Florida 33647.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? You may do so at this time. And again, state your name, spell it, and your address. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ashley Mulholland. It's Ashley, and my last name is Mulholland, and my address is 5504 North Swanee Avenue, Tampa, Florida 33604. So I am on the south side of Jen and Alina's house. My concern was just the driveway. We do share a driving space together, so even now our cars are pretty close together when we were both in the driveway. So for them bumping out their house, I didn't know how that was going to affect even a small thing like taking my recycling bin. It's kind of hard now to bring it in between two of the cars, so I didn't know if that bumping out would have something to do with those types of issues. Mr. Dobbs did say that he was going to bring the garage up north a little bit above our property line, so that makes me feel better. I was a little bit concerned that, forgive me, the awning or the eave would go over on our property because they're so close to each other. That's the other concern I had, but I think he said he's moving it forward, so just making sure that's not over it. And having that privacy of those two windows that are in the garage, not directly staring into my property. So, okay, sorry, I think that's it. Okay,
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else that'd like to come forward? No? All right, we'll go ahead and we will begin asking questions. Mr. Sutton? Let's start with you, if you have any.
Mr. Dobbs, you went through a lot of your materiality involving this, this project. Like the one before, you are proposing a fairly significant new porch situation on the back of this addition. But I don't recall you discussing materials for that, the deck, the ceiling, columns. Can you revisit that for us, please?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, again, I apologize for not having a porch section, but I'm gonna put up the elevation that shows the porch from the side.
Mm-hmm.
And so, right, and I just noticed a conflict here. I'm showing a pier with the foundation vent, but I call it out as a concrete deck. So we're actually gonna do a solid foundation here, because they do want the concrete deck here, so it'll be like a fine broom finished surface that's painted a historically porch color, and then simple square columns.
Field
And then-
fabricated, or is that going to be one of
Yeah, they're
your
7 by 7.
box columns?
Oh, yeah, they're 7 by 7 hollow wood box columns.
Mm-hmm.
They're great. I encourage every contractor to use them because they're made with kiln-dried, pressure-treated wood. It's a manufactured product. You have a threaded rod that goes up in the middle, and it's a finished product. Rather than trying to do 6 by 6 posts, put it in wet, and it twists and checks and bends and just goes all over the place. So they're a great product. And then the sitting rail, similar to what we have on the front porch. It's just a simple horizontal rail. And we only have 3 steps here, so technically we don't have to have a handrail for the steps. And then on the roof overhang for the porch, we are going to have exposed rafter tails. We're going to have a beadboard ceiling or a tongue and groove, bead groove, tongue and groove ceiling with the simple trim detail at the beam. The overhang, I want to kind of point that out too. So this shows the larger, or the 2'2" overhangs, and I think it's important for us to maintain the same overhang for the addition so we get the clean 45 transition. from the new to the existing. But the porch, being a shed roof, typically those have less overhang. So we're only doing a 12-inch overhang here and then a 16-inch overhang here. And that kind of helps differentiate the porch from this bump out here at the master bedroom. So hopefully that answers your questions about the porch.
It does. Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Myers?
No questions at this time.
Mr. Prokop?
I don't have any questions at this time.
Mr. Miles?
The overhang that the lady was referring to, is that addressed in these drawings, or?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, so, yeah, I wasn't sure if I was gonna address that at my rebuttal or now, but I'll address it now. So, yeah, so there is a little over 4 foot setback here. 3 foot is code, but we have the fire code that we have to deal with. You can't have combustible materials within 2 feet of the property line. So, and then also, you're not allowed to drain rainwater off the roof into this area. So we'll have to have some sort of gutter or something to contain the water and direct it to the alley. So there won't be any water running off onto her property.
No other questions, thank you.
Okay.
You have another question, Mr. Sutton?
I do, as a matter of fact.
Go for it.
Air conditioning equipment for your new addition, existing dwelling, where is that? And how is that being screened?
Okay, so, yeah, I did talk about that briefly. The existing unit is in this general vicinity, so we're keeping it in this vicinity. I'm showing it right here. I'm not showing any screening, so, and I know we need to show screening, so I would expect that would be a condition of approval. What I don't know is if we would do it with a fence or with landscaping, because currently there's no fencing in this area right here, which you saw in the photos from Elaine.
That's correct.
And then the air conditioning unit for the accessory structure is located right here.
That's a wall mount mini split?
Yeah, or just on one of those pads, but just, yeah, like a suitcase. I tell people they're just like a suitcase on the side of the building.
I remember what I was going to ask. I just want to verify that if you could just scooch this plan up a little bit. The concrete strip drive will remain except for where you're putting the parking pad that's required by transportation. Is that correct or not?
Yes, we want to keep all the existing concrete ribbons.
All the way to the garage face, even though they're not going to drive into it at this time?
No, I probably should have noted here, we're going to take them out right here because I think they would probably get destroyed anyways during construction.
Okay.
And there's going to be a fence or gate right here, so that's behind that.
Okay.
And historic preservation staff has allowed us to do that in the past, that the driveway not continue to the garage if there's an opaque fence.
So then I have a question about the stairs off the new porch. Are they intended to connect at all to the parking pad? Is it the intent that you park and then you go through the gate and you go up the stairs to the porch?
That's a good point. No, I think probably maybe we should extend the parking pad to, so you go through the gate.
There's a reason why they require architects on them.
Yeah.
Watching out for your owners. Okay, good, I'm glad we clarified that. Other than that, I don't think I have any questions. Any other questions either for the applicant or for staff? Going once, going twice. Okay, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal, Mr. Dobbs.
No, I think everything's been addressed. I really appreciate these ladies coming because I know that's a lot of time sitting and waiting. So hopefully I addressed all their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dobbs. We'll go ahead and close the public portion and we will discuss the case. Anything?
In a related matter to the previously presented project, we have the differentiation that we were talking about. Very simply presented, no theatrics, it's there.
I would agree. I mean,
I
it's.
thought you were
and
gonna
it-
say something, sorry. That's
No,
why I
it's
looked
just,
over to you.
yeah, it's a natural separation because, you know, the existing house is covered with that 12-inch deep or whatever exposed face stuff, and the new one is not. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and it makes a difference, and you can paint it all the same color, but, you know, any semi-architecturally educated person can walk by and go, that's original, that's the addition. No, and I think even I saw that, you know, that the gable vents were differentiated in the addition from the original. Yeah, I really don't have any criticisms.
Anyone else? Any thoughts?
Well, the gable vents are false though, right? Oh, we can't
We
ask.
can't ask questions.
We've gone there. Because they're, well, I can't have an opinion about the colonial insulation either.
That's inside the building anyway.
Yeah, all right. So I
You
think
can
it's.
have an opinion.
Certainly, but is it, anyway.
Yes, but the
Um,
gable vents will be of a certain appearance, that's fine. I find that I've not asked my question, so I'll defer comment.
Any other comments?
Sir.
Concerns?
No.
No? Anyone willing to make a motion? One thing I do think, I'm not quite certain that the windows and the doors were all prescribed or indicated in the discussion and the review. So we may need to add that in. And I wasn't taking notes because I have no pen.
Right. It's all on your hands. I mean, I think besides the windows and the doors being clarified, and the screening of the HVAC unit,
Yes.
to the new,
From the parking pad to stainless serve to the new porch.
the addition of that pad.
I
But that's-
think,
that's-
The coordination of whatever's necessary for a walkway.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And if staff is allowed them to demolish the ribbons, the existing original ribbons.
I don't think that's an issue.
It's behind a fence.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. But preserve the original ribbons, preserve the current.
Preserve the original ribbons.
Because they're not on the site plan.
Right. Preserve the original ribbons that are outboard or in front of
Right.
the fence as much as possible. I think that's a good point. The screening of the AC, coordinate the walkway.
Clarify the windows and doors.
Yes, please. Event detail would be good, because I didn't see one, and the porch section. Anything else?
For me.
I think Mr. Prokop's entertaining a motion in his head.
Am I? No, I'm still trying to write down those notes. I didn't get all those conditions.
When anybody's ready, you're more than welcome to enter one.
Clarify the porch what? Clarify
It
the
did, there's no porch section in the drawings.
All right. I move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in ARC 23-156 for the property at 5506 North Suwanee Avenue with the following conditions: that the applicant coordinate with staff on screening of the HVAC unit, clarification of exact windows and door makes, manufacturers, that the original concrete ribbons be preserved outboard of any fencing, that the vent detail be clarified in the new addition, and that there be clarification of the porch section and materials. Because based upon the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Seminole Heights design guidelines of the City of Tampa for the following reasons: that the project proportions and window patterns, trim and detail, and are compatible with the district, and the project maintains materials, alignment, rhythm, and spacing of the district.
A second, please?
I second the motion.
And before we do the up-down vote, Mr. Dobbs, do you understand the conditions
I do.
put forth? Thank you. All those in favor, please state aye and raise your hand indicating so.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations.
And thank you again.
Thank you, everyone.
that.
Oh,
Just-
we have
Well,
a
we're not
few
done
things
yet.
on the agenda before we recess.
No, it's just lovely to get of attention on the presentation, it really is.
Make a motion for
So we need to enter a motion, oh, I lost my second page of my agenda. Oh, I threw it away because my ink got on it. Thank you. I need a motion to receive and file submitted documents and exhibits presented here tonight that were not entered into the record prior. So if we can get a motion for that, please?
I move that all documents submitted this evening and which are not on the record shall be received and filed along with the other documents for this meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
And then we have one more item.
Next on your agenda, Commissioners, is the annual election of officers. This is delineated in the rules of procedure that the first opportunity in the month of April, you have the opportunity to elect new officers. I had spoken about this with the chair today, and apparently there was, perhaps some commissioners didn't realize we were doing this tonight. So if it's the pleasure of the board, we can postpone this a month, and I can make a more direct notification to the commissioners that aren't present at this evening's meeting that we'd hold this election in May. That's up to you. It's your discretion. It's your rules. So I'm open to whatever your preferability is. If we do continue it, it would be the May 1st public hearing.
I would recommend that the election of officers be forwarded to the next available meeting. I think it's important that all members of this board, present or not, are informed of the need to make a decision if there is a particular roster of candidates that are in mind, or proposal for who to do what kind of a position, be brought forward before a vote is taken. And I think we need that buffer of time between the notice, the information, the feedback, in order to do that job properly.
Was that a motion?
I so move.
I second the motion.
All in favor, please state aye and raise your hand indicating so. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Well,
Thank
we'll
you.
place that on the May agenda, and that will conclude our business for this evening.
We are adjourned.
And a
Thank you
notice-
all for your patience
Will notice
tonight.
get sent to all the,
Pardon?
will the notice get sent to everyone concerning that?